Eighth graders, we are going to rotate a shape around a point. That is our whole focus on this. In this video, you are going to notice that we don't have a coordinate plane. It's very similar to what you had to do in class, or what you have to do in class with our investigation 1.2. In this situation, we are going to be using a traced shape. I'm going to use patty paper. I'm going to use a pencil. I've told you this before, pencils are great, and we are going to use an angle ruler. My whole intention is to make this as smooth as possible, but I can guarantee you this is not a very smooth process, but we're going to try to make this nice and smooth. Let's start. So I have this shape here, A, B, C, D, E. I have my patty paper here. My very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to trace my shape very heavily on this patty paper. I'm going to try to be as careful about it as possible. And I'm going to label a couple of these points. Actually, I'm just going to label them all, so that way I know how this shape is supposed to go. Second, after I've done that, I'm going to shift my paper over a little bit, but I'm going to also now notice I took my sheet and I flipped it over. I'm now going to trace this other side of the shape with this same pencil lead. I highly encourage you to use a pencil, like a heavy hand with your tracing. It will help with transferring the lines when you go to rotate, but then also it will make sure that your job is less hard. Okay, so you notice when I did all that, you can see lines transferring over. That's important. That means that I had a heavy enough hand when I was tracing my shape initially. So now I have this shape in two places. I have it, the original shape, and then I have a traced image of it. This image I am now going to rotate, and I am going to rotate this one 60 degrees clockwise. That means when I rotate this shape, my new image is likely going to overlap this original. And that's something I'm going to have to deal with, and it's something that you're going to have to deal with as well. And make sense of that in your brain. When I rotate something, and I know if I'm rotating it clockwise or counterclockwise, I also like to make a little directional arrow so I can be sure that I rotate it in the correct way. It's kind of hard to see here, but I'm rotating the 60 degrees clockwise. That means I am rotating it the way the hands on a clock go around. The hands on a clock go around like this, so my directional arrow is following that. So that means if I were to rotate this, I am rotating it like this around there. I'm not rotating it backwards like this. I'm rotating it this way. Let's also pick a center of rotation. A lot of times this will already be given to you. I'm going to just pick A as my center of rotation. I'm going to mark that so that way it's obvious of where I'm going to be rotating it from. And then last but not least, I'm going to take my angle ruler and I'm going to set it so it is at 60 degrees. Let's see if we can see this. All right, so you can tell on your angle ruler, if you look at it, there is no 0 marking. There is a 360 degree marking. That 360 degree marking where it essentially goes to 0, so 360 degrees / 0. I want you to think about it like that. The next marking that you see is 15, then 30, then 45, then 60. I just set mine to 60 degrees, so that way this second hand on here is going through that 60 degree mark. Okay, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to set your angle ruler to like 60 degrees or perhaps 90 degrees, whatever you need to rotate everything to. Once you've done that, you're going to align your patty paper with your angle ruler, and your center of rotation and this metal brad right here are going to align. Okay, and I'm going to align those by sticking my pencil in there and keeping them there and being very firm-handed with that marking. I am then going to be rotating just, Now this is not going to be pretty. I'm going to totally mess this up a couple of times, but this is the process that you're likely going to be going through as well. I'm going to be attempting to rotate just this patty paper and keeping this angle ruler in the same place. If the angle ruler starts to move around, I'm going to have to readjust the angle ruler and make sure that this leg here is going through the AE line on my original, on this purple paper, and this patty paper here, the AE line on the image, is going to end up coming over here to this other line on the 60 degrees. So it's my intention to just move the patty paper. This is tricky. Notice how I'm just very slowly doing this. It's not pretty. It's going to be messy, especially when you do it your first couple of times. It's very messy. So now it's a little hard to see. However, you can see here, if I move this all away, you can see the original sort of underneath this patty paper. You can see the new shape right up above it. And if I were to put my angle ruler right on top of that space right there, you should be able to see that the original shape and the new shape, their corresponding sides of AE, are now through the two different legs of the angle ruler. That's how you know that you've rotated it properly. You want to look at corresponding sides. AE and AE need to be essentially aligned with the two different legs of the angle ruler. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to retrace this shape here, because I had flipped it over. I flipped over this patty paper before and traced the other side. So now I have some pencil lead sort of helping me out on the other side, and it should be transferring. And now I should be able to take that away and see a very light image of this shape right on top. So now what I can do is I can make it stronger, and I can even be super good about making it pretty by taking my angle ruler and making these lines very dark and straight. There's my AE line, or my A prime E prime line. I can now finish this up with these other sides and so on. Isn't that so cool? I know, it's awesome. All right, so we've done a rotation about a point that is actually on this shape. That's kind of cool. So I can now relabel everything. This was A prime, here's E prime, here's D prime, C prime, and B prime. And now I have my 60-degree rotation. All right, let me see if I can bring this up so you can see it more clearly. My 60-degree rotation. Do you see all of that detail that you need to show there? I need to now have all of my prime points identified. I can show my 60-degree rotation based on one of the corresponding sides. I have my center of rotation marked, and when I went to go and do my rotation, I actually showed that 60 degrees clockwise and showed the directional arrow, so that way I was very careful with my rotation. Now what's kind of cool is if I were to have rotated this on a point that's off of the shape itself, the new shape would be also off of that center of rotation, and I'll show you in the next video what a couple of those look like so we can look and see some big ideas and some big takeaways from rotations about a point that are on a shape as well as off of a shape. Thank you for watching. I hope this was clear, and if it wasn't, please make sure you email me or message me and ask me questions, and I will talk to you later. Bye.